All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. But we're going to have a show.
Good morning, party people. Nice to be with everyone. Can someone tweet that we're on the air? I didn't tweet. I mean, I'm so overwhelmed with stuff. I usually tweet that we're on the air, but I didn't do it today because I was busy doing other stuff. There is more other stuff doing this than I ever thought imaginable. I'm Mark Thompson, your complaining host. We've got the lovely Kim McAllister, and we've got the lovely John Daly and Tony. So it's
Kim, how are you?
Kim, Tony.
Tony, what angered you?
Yeah, and the fabulous producer, John.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
Can we get started a little bit? Just somebody can tweet with the YouTube link, then I will retweet it. That's my request for the
I'll
day.
do that.
That's all you have to do. Thank you, sir. Much to do today. Friday Fabulous Florida has a couple of newsy stories in it, and then it's got a couple of crazy Florida stories in it. I think you'll be very happy. That'll be bottom of the hour after Kim's news. Gary Dietrich, political maven, will be in at 11 o'clock. We'll talk about the midterms. We'll talk about developments as far as inflation is concerned and how it pinches on the midterms. The culture blaster, Michael Snyder, will be here. He'll talk about movies. And I want to hear about this George Clooney, Julia Roberts movie. I hate to be that guy who just wants to hear about the one with the big stars in it. But usually when there are a couple of big stars in a movie, I think it's going to be a bad movie. But things I'm hearing suggest maybe not so bad. But Michael will tell us. So all of that still to come. And he'll have his other indie films and everything else that he produces. We're so glad that you could be with us for today's show, our big Friday show, as we finish the first full week on this show. And you can hit the chat line in our YouTube chat. So you can populate that the same way you used to. Only the great thing about this chat is that you are part of a community.
Why don't you just text it?
Yeah, so text with other people who watch the show. There's a real conversation going on. And we feel it's an eerie, odd thing. But we feel really, in a way, closer to you through that chat, through that community that's building.
Oh, I love it.
And yeah, we talk about it a lot. So it's maybe one of the fun surprises of all of this post-KGO world as we've kind of started this sort of KGO in exile world, at least here on the Mark Thompson show. And I'm guessing also on Nikki's show, they feel a sense of community there with you. What's that?
I said you just said Voldemort's name twice in a row.
Oh,
He who
that's
shall
true.
not be named, you know.
Yeah.
You
I
look
get
pretty preppy today. You got your collar popped. You're ready to, do some rockabilly. Are you going to dance?
Thank you for saying that. I'm feeling less than ready, but it'll be good. We're going to have a fun show. Steve Moskowitz is our super sponsor. He is our sole sponsor. He is our exclusive sponsor, and he is the guy to go to with any tax issues at all. If you're a business, small or large, or you're an individual, go to Steve Moskowitz with any tax questions. You can reach him at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL. You can also reach him on the web, reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com. By the way, before you even get any further, you can smash that like button now. You don't have to worry about it later. Smash it with your iron
rod.
Smash it with your iron rod if you want to.
Gonna do it right now.
But definitely give us the thumbs up. You need to give us the thumbs up for every show. It's a weird YouTube thing. There are more weird YouTube things. I'll share more of them with you later. Not right now. I don't want to bog us down, but
not all the weird YouTube things.
Not all the weird YouTube things. There's some weird things that we're gonna, kind of keep between us because I don't want to burden you, the audience.
Unfortunately, I have iron rod, and I'm not sure how to handle it.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be handling your iron rod except to smash it. Yeah.
Okay.
You smash it
with your
Well, Kim,
iron
that's
rod.
why you have the whip in addition to the rod.
Oh, is that why? I gotta whip it? All right.
Big news with Steve Bannon. It's not quite, if you're looking forward to Steve Bannon being whisked away in a police vehicle or a court vehicle to his sentence. His sentence for ignoring the subpoena from Congress, which is sort of the way, to be fair, that the last administration handled it. And they're not the only ones. I mean, subpoenas have been ignored before, but there was sort of a a sense of the rules not applying to the last administration as much. It started with not releasing the taxes. Then you saw it play out in a number of other different ways. You could even suggest that the nepotism that infested the last administration was one that was even another flavor of nepotism in Washington. But more to the point, the ignoring of the subpoena was sort of the rebellious, we don't play by the rules style of Steve Bannon, okay? And again, it's a legally compelled action. You must do it. But it's sort of like, what happens if I don't? It'll get litigated, and before you know it, it'll become history. Well, there was a sentence handed down. He was taken to court, and the sentence he got was 4 months. And but again, before you get too excited about him going away for 4 months, if you're not a Steve Bannon fan, I think you need to know some of the other details.
We're keeping our eyes on a federal courtroom.
This is the way it happened just moments ago.
Right now, Trump ally Steve Bannon is facing sentencing for criminal contempt of Congress. He's charged with 2 counts after defying the subpoena from the January 6th committee. Bannon arrived this morning to chants of traitor and fascist. He spoke briefly before entering the court.
I'd like to arrive in the morning to chants. Traitor and fascist doesn't really do much for me. But arriving to some chanting would be nice every day.
Remember, this illegitimate regime, their judgment day is on 8 November, when the Biden administration ends.
And we understand there is a sentencing announced, 4 months in prison. But joining me right now, NBC News justice and intelligence correspondent.
This is where you're going to hear
outside
the reality on the Bannon sentence.
Steve Bannon to 4 months in prison and a $6,500 fine. But importantly, he has stayed that sentence while Steve Bannon appeals his decisions about what evidence to allow in the trial.
What?
So Steve Bannon will not be going to prison anytime soon. Those appeals processes could take months to a year.
So that's what I wanted you to know, that the appeals process itself will slow things down.
So they have processes, protocols.
They have process, protocols, and standards. Thank you, John.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
But the court system can work for Bannon, right? And those processes and protocols and standards will be associated with appeals that will last a while.
So he's going to disappear for 4 months, kind of like a cicada, and then he's going to come back.
No, that's a tortured parallel, but I accept it.
But 4 months in prison is the sentence that is less than what the prosecution asked for. They wanted.
What is that? Did I accidentally hit something? Oh my God!
It's funky though. I'm liking it.
It was funky. What is that?
Yeah.
I think that's your intro music.
Oh, I might have hit the intro music. It's my Superfly intro music.
Yeah, that's how you walk in. That's how you walk into the studio.
Very 70s.
I think news is better with that music underneath it.
I literally can't.
Attention.
I literally don't see where it came from, so I'm loath to. Well, I'll figure it out in a second. But I can't. I've got so much sound here. Give me 1 second, everyone. This is an unexpected. I do love it, though. I got to say. It's got that sort of
Somebody
feel,
needs to pour me a glass of wine from that black carafe you've got behind you.
Well, it is Friday.
Yeah, kids, get your funk on. All right. I can't stop it, so I may as well just go with it. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Oh, my God. Where's Joe Box today?
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
What about Fat Andy?
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
All right, I wish I knew what was playing, and then I could stop it, and I will. I will figure this out.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah, so far, it is. Well, I'm. Oh, it stopped. Thank you. I wanted you to hear the end of that report. That's why.
6 months. They said that they wanted the maximum under the guidelines.
Yeah, that's important. So the prosecutors, just so you're aware, in case you weren't following every detail of the Bannon trial, they'd asked for much more. They'd asked for 6 months and $200,000 in fine. Listen to what he got to 4 months.
Anytime soon, those appeals processes could take months to a year. But 4 months in prison is the sentence that is less than what the prosecution asked for. They wanted 6 months. They said that they wanted the maximum under the guidelines. They also asked for a $200,000 fine. and they got 6,500. But still a significant sentence, and the first time in modern history that someone has been sentenced after being convicted of contempt of Congress. But that's the sentence here today, 4 months for Steve Bannon.
Well, the other thing I would say is 6,500 is he's got that on him. You know, Steve Bannon is a wildly wealthy guy. But the 4 months is real, you know. Maybe it's a message. I don't know. Seems as though the process is clotted with this kind of thing, you know. You go through the court process initially, then you go through the appeals process, and these situations take years. And so by the time this subpoena has to be honored, you know, usually it's for documents or something, honestly. But in this case, it was for testimony. So I mentioned Friday Fabulous Florida still to come. That was big news from Bannon, that we wanted to give you that. I think the Liz Truss news is pretty big out of Britain. I haven't had much time to talk about it, but, you know, Britain and Europe are suffering from insane inflation. The British currency is in a free fall. And at that time, they get this, they get a prime minister who you would suggest is radical when it comes to economics, right? I mean, wanting to tax cuts for the rich. And she was aggressive about pursuing them and unapologetic about pursuing them. I mean, very a Trumpian that way, you know, very aggressive in terms of making her policies clear ahead of time. And then they got her in, and all of a sudden the blowback. I mean, it was the policy pitch, if you want to think of it that way, wasn't softened in any way. And so this public that's already being hammered by an economy that is being affected also by Ukraine and all of the things that are affecting inflation and economies worldwide, this British economy is now taking a body blow from this Liz Truss, who, again, just ascends into office. Well, it didn't go well, of course. And she's removed from office and is resigning, right? So
And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit.
Now, this is her speaking. This is her farewell speech, if you want to think of it that way. And the low taxes she talks about is lowering the taxes on the wealthiest in Britain.
I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, there you have it. So
we have processes and protocols and standards.
Right, exactly. And she seemed to have hit them all. She was given more of a farewell than we were at KGO.
Ouch.
I mean, it was painful, but I'm just saying it was. Come on. So she is out. And Tony was saying to me before that that's going to be a trivia question in about 20 years. You know,
we did get 10 days of mourning, though.
No, that's right. The 10 days of mourning. That's exactly right, because she came into office at the same time that the Queen had passed away. So there's all of that. You saw that there was a car discovered in the backyard of an Atherton home.
Is it Jimmy Hoffa?
Who is it? Right?
I don't know.
I mean,
Could
it's
be somebody.
$15 million. The home that it's discovered in was $15 million. We looked it up on Zillow. It's $15 million. And so what happened was landscapers were working in the yard, and they found this car buried there. I mean, you got to admit, it's perplexing, right? It's a weird mystery. Perplexing is a ding word. But the Atherton cops have not really said anything, right? It was
really, why would you bury a car really deep like that? What was it, 15 feet down or some such? Why would you bury a to hide a body?
That way. They're hiding something.
Maybe you killed someone in a hit and run crash, so your rich parents were like, just bury the vehicle.
That is the.
John,
why didn't you come up with that theory, John?
Because I'm a very good driver. It didn't even enter my mind.
Well, it's still murder, but you know. Why would you do it? I mean, it has to have been involved in something.
Or maybe it's to distract from the real location of the body.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, they had a cadaver dog out there, and it caught a scent, but so far we don't have word of a body.
Well, I'm sure there's a scent.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But that's interesting because it did. it did feel as though there was some sort of murder or body or something, remains of some kind that related to human remains. Felt like that, right?
So they had to call the Atherton concierge desk.
Yes, we call the Atherton
Can you imagine
cops
that
the
conversation?
concierge. For those who don't know, Atherton is an extremely wealthy area. And so John really started it. He explained that they don't have police officers there, they have concierge service. So that's what he's referring to. Just so you know, as we have more Atherton stories in the future.
It's a callback.
It is a callback, but I wanted people just to know.
Yes, we appreciate that.
The story on Lara Logan, I heard the video. I heard her comments on Newsmax. When you get too hot for Newsmax, you know you've said something bad. They've dropped her. They've severed ties.
What did she say?
I have the audio, and I can play it for you a little bit later. I'm running a little behind right now. I wanted to play you. I got a Televangelist theater that I think you'll enjoy a little bit more. But she essentially says she's talking about the one world rule and the fact that the elites and the socialists dine on the blood of children. She said that I can give you the quote.
So she turned into a Q? Is that what it is?
Yeah, she's been Q-ish for a while, but she's gone full Q.
Oh.
Dine on the blood of children. She made other bizarre statements in this back and forth with Eric Bolling. He used to be on Fox. About how the global elites embrace socialism and dine on the blood of children. She says she has a firm and solid and immovable belief in God. And she keeps sort of defaulting to, there's nothing wrong with that, but the other stuff seems a little bit... Newsmax says we have no plans to interview her again. So they've made it clear it's... Good day, sir! Yeah, it's pretty much done with Lara Logan. I'll play you the audio later. I wanted to give you a little Televangelist theater. Can I do that? There's a... before I give you Televangelist theater, I need to ask you to support us financially because that's kind of what we do. And so there are a couple of ways to do that. One of them is to go to our Patreon, which you can find at themarkthompsonshow.com. And you can just click through the Patreon and you can become a patron of the show. We have some cool incentives. We have some cool special things I'll be announcing next week. We have some meetups ahead. We have more merch coming. There's a lot that we're doing.
Meetups?
Yeah, we have meetups. And I'll leave it at that for now. But we have meetups coming. And we have live meetups coming too. But that's a ways in the future. But right now, we're just trying to walk before we run, and we need to keep the lights on.
And there's a new link on the website if you want to make a one-time contribution via PayPal.
You can make a one-time contribution via PayPal, as John says. You can do that through our website. So if you're more given to that, like I just want to give you guys whatever, then, and credit cards, link on PayPal, it's no problem. You can do it that way. Otherwise, you get the Patreon site. And what is the other way? Oh, the Super Chats. Super Chats, you should jump on the Super Chat, and we will read all Super Chats. It's 100% effective to leave us
some Super Chatters today. Very kind. Wesley W., Gary D., Sally D., and Brian V. have all kicked down some money to be in the Super Chat.
I love it. I love it.
100% effective. How about that?
It is 100% effective. So we'll read the Super Chat if there are chats associated with any of those. Also, you can smash the heart with a $sign through it. That way we can get money donated right at that time. And if you're not watching us live, that will still be active, even when the live show is done.
Should you use your rod to smash the heart? Is that too aggressive?
This is a good question. I don't think it's ever been raised before. Should you use your rod? I've always thought the rod was just to like it, you smash it. I guess you could smash the heart with a $sign with a...
Smash it with your iron rod.
All right, then do it. Do it. Who am I to say no?
Thanks to Julie as well. Julie C.
Thanks for all the... Julie C., thank you. We'll come back and we'll acknowledge more people. I'll also give you some Televangelist theater. There's a really fine piece of Televangelist theater offering today. If you need to reach us on the email, it's themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. On Twitter, it's @MarkTLive. Please welcome in our exclusive sponsor, the guy who has really, frankly, given us some real oxygen, especially as we finish up this first week. I want to acknowledge Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Hi, Steve Moskowitz.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much. And I want to report that you have 2 new listeners listening to your show right now. Just before I called you, I was talking to a brand new client, and he was saying how much he missed you and Nikki. And I said, good news.
Yes.
And I gave him the information, so he should be tuning in right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
It is odd. I got an email yesterday from someone saying, I miss you so much on KGO. Please tell me if you make any future plans or what your next steps will be. And I thought, oh my God, we've worked so hard to try to get this going. Sometimes the word doesn't get out to everybody in the same way if you're not on Twitter or social media, whatever. So I'm grateful for those moments when you're literally talking to somebody and they make a comment and you go, hey, they're on right now. They have a live show every day, the same way they did on KGO.
Client that calls me, I mention that, and you have so many people that just love you. I mention your name and they melt. You and Nikki, they just love you.
Wow, isn't that nice? Why did he have to throw the "and Nikki" in? I was feeling so good about it, Nikki.
They love both of you. There's enough love to go around.
I'm kidding. I love Nikki too. In fact, I'll tell you something. I watched her whole show yesterday, and because of stuff going on, I couldn't watch the whole thing at the time, so I had to watch like an hour of it before I went to bed last night. It's kind of just lying in bed listening to Nikki's shows. It was great. So yeah, you've been a great supporter of both of us, and I'm just teasing. All right, quickly, let's talk some taxes. Give me some news on ERC.
ERC is where the government is giving away up to $26,000 to employers for every employee that you have that qualifies. There's 2 different ways to qualify. One way is by a certain drop in gross revenue. That's easy to figure. It's a number. You either hit it or you didn't. But now we have a lot of firms on one extreme or another. I want to talk about both of them. There's a lot of firms that say they just want the easy way, and they say, well, if your gross revenue didn't drop, that's it. There's another test. It's called full or partial closure, also known as the facts and circumstances test. For example, take an essential business like Safeway. From the beginning of the pandemic until June 15th of 2021, they, like all businesses in California, could only use 25% of the inside of their store. That's a 75% partial closure. Or supply chain problems or other problems. We will take the time and effort to sit down with you and see if you qualify. And we'll do one of 2 things. We'll tell you either you do or you don't. If you don't, we'll tell you why. But if you do, let's get every penny to which you're legally entitled. But watch out. The IRS is warning about some companies, and there's a lot of pop-up companies around now. They literally went into existence just to file these applications. And as soon as they finish, they're going to be gone. And when the IRS has some questions, you call them and you get a disconnected number. We have been around for over 30 years. Mark, we've been around for a long time. And the IRS is warning that a lot of companies are just submitting fraudulent applications. So what you want to watch out for is you don't want either one of the extremes. You don't want the company that says, oh, they're only going to talk to you about the easy way to qualify and not do the work to sit down and if you qualify under the facts and circumstances. On the other hand, obviously, like any tax benefit, you don't want to be cheating on your taxes either. And yes, you want to steer clear of those companies. That's why I say, I think we're perfect for you. We're a well-established law firm. We've been practicing over 30 years. And we'll tell you, if you qualify, let's get every dollar to which you're legally entitled. If you don't qualify, we'll tell you that too. So I think we're just perfect for you.
No, I've said it before. I mean, I think the sort of basket of skills and qualifications that you have and those in your office have, I think it really applies to so many different circumstances that you'll find across the spectrum of issues when it comes to taxes. So reach Steve Moskowitz. You can reach him at the toll-free number, 888-TAX-DEAL, TAXDEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com. Call him. He can help you no matter how small or big your tax problem. Call Steve. Steve Moskowitz, great having you here. Thanks again. Appreciate
Mark,
it.
thanks very much.
All right. Steve Moskowitz, everybody. How about that? Yeah. Kim McAllister, news coming. John Daly standing by, riding herd over this madness.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
And Tony, of course, is the guy who is the technical expert.
Thanks, Tony.
And so we are grateful for all of them, mostly grateful for all of you. I've got Televangelist Theater standing by. Let me just quickly acknowledge a couple of comments. You can text it into
all the time. Bye-bye.
No.
Wow. That was quick.
That was a short show. Yeah, right.
Why don't you just text it?
Here is what I get on the text line. Bannon always looks like he just got released from prison, says JR. That's right. He doesn't need to go to prison to get that just released from prison look. You're right. Mark needs to grow a 70s porn mustache, says John. Yeah, all right. Well, Debbie says Bannon should have to pay for all the court costs as well. Justice delayed. Of course, you're right. It is justice denied. Even as it's made big news, I think the realities are this guy won't pay a dime and will never do a day. But we'll see. Billy says Truss is putting England on sale. The pound to dollar is almost even now. Yeah. Truss, and that's one of the reasons that she resigned. Truss was so radical in her notions. Of course, she backed off them, but it wreaked havoc in such a short time, in basically a month's time, with the British economy, on top, as I was saying, of the challenges they already have with the British economy. So I don't think you're wrong. I think a lot of her presence produced economic turmoil on top of that which they're experiencing. Now, let me get some news about people who've helped us out, and thank you for supporting us. You can hit us with support right there on YouTube, Super Chat, and all the rest. Wesley for $5, Gary for $20, Sally contribute $20. All of you rock, she says.
Big shout out.
Yeah, thanks, Sally. So nice to hear you again, Kim. You are the best newscaster. Wow, that's nice. Brian says, hey, $1.99.
Thank you so much.
$19.99, $20 from Sharon.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And Brian as well. So thank you, Brian, for $20.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks, everybody. Really makes a difference. We appreciate it. Hate to have to be that guy saying we're trying to keep these programs going. I'm thinking about all the PBS and public radio pitches, you know. If you like programs like this one, it's going to take contributions from you to keep them on the air. Now I've become one of those people.
You're that guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Listeners like you.
Yes, listeners like you are what we depend on. Please take a moment, whatever you can spare. And last thing I'll just say, all kidding aside, there were real job losses when KGO went under and they got rid of everybody. Now these are people who are on this show, and we're just basically trying to take care of them. As I told you, I'm not taking any money because I got a little more of a cushion, I think, than Kim and John. We're trying to get them
Think
some
of the
money.
Children. Think of Kim's children.
Think of the children. Yes, let's use my children to...
Okay, think of my cat Archie and his need for meat.
There you go.
We should get your children on, Kim. You can maybe shoot something over the weekend with your kids doing
can we exploit
an impassioned plea? Yeah. Your daughter is a performer already. Why not?
She is. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. So what should I do here, John? I don't think I have time for Televangelist Theater. Oh, yeah. You want to do a quick one? Or a little Televangelist Theater and then Kim's News? Can I do that?
A very short mass.
A very short mass in Televangelist Theater. All right, let's see how it goes.
This is Televangelist Theater.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Here's your host, Mark Thompson.
I like the fact that this is a female preacher. Yeah. We've had a lot of men who've been preaching the word, but here's a little something.
Even the fake news will have to tell the truth. For they will say these very words. We don't want to say this. We tried to prove it wasn't true, that it was a lie. But Trump won the 2020 election.
So very nice.
He is the president of the United States of America.
All right.
There will not need to be an election to cause that to happen. For I have already spoken from the courtroom of heaven.
Yeah.
Even into the unknown space.
That has to be a busy place, the courtroom in heaven, don't you think? I would just think,
Yeah, a lot of appeals going on.
Right. Courtroom in heaven, can I help you?
Into the spirit realm, the physical realm. Those words have already been spoken. You can write it down. That it will be proven that Trump, who was my chosen person, is my chosen person to sit in the seat of the White House.
All right.
Who will wipe up this mess.
I'm getting the idea.
Like a mop bucket. So there's no trace of it.
Like a mop bucket. I love it. That's Televangelist Theater for today.
This has been Televangelist Theater.
Well, she's got a theme. She's got a narrative. I'll give her credit. And she punches home everything. And, she sticks the landing. What can I do? What more do you want?
Put your money in the bucket.
Yeah. Put your money in the bucket. We got cleanup to do. We'll take a break for Kim's news. We've got Friday Fabulous Florida, a gun accident, a serious new policy going into effect, and then your typical Florida madness. All of that as we continue on The Mark Thompson Show.
On The Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon facing 4 months behind bars after he was convicted of contempt of Congress, but he'll remain free while an appeal is pursued. He was hit with the contempt charges after refusing to comply with a subpoena from the committee investigating last year's Capitol attack. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia is planning a false flag operation that could flood southern Ukraine. He says Russia is a hydroelectric dam that would affect 80 towns. President Biden celebrating a decline in the federal deficit today. Speaking from the White House, the president noting the deficit fell by $1.4 trillion. He went after Republicans for their spending plans, which he said would make the deficit worse. Possible crime scene in the backyard of an Atherton home. That is where landscapers found a car buried about 5 feet, not 15 feet, as I said earlier, 5 feet underground with several bags of concrete inside of it. Investigators called in cadaver dogs. They say they may have picked up the scent of human remains. Nothing found, though, as of last night. Police believe that car has been there since the 1990s, before the current owner moved in. No word.
Several people think that Joe Box might be involved in this, too.
Yeah.
Little Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of mob-ish.
It does seem like that. Concrete in the car, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
They don't know who owns the car, or they haven't released the information on who car just yet. But if you own the car and saw that in the news, you're headed to Mexico fast, right?
But it's buried on a $15 million property. That's the weird part. It wasn't like found in some, right? You get me?
Who knew it would be uncovered someday? Yeah, someone has a lot to lose. Another up for Twitter, about 5,500 employees could be let go within days. The San Francisco-based company said to be at risk of losing 75% of its staff. Tesla CEO Elon Musk reportedly planning to make that drastic change once he closes his $44 billion buyout deal next week. If so, it would bring Twitter's workforce down to around 2,000 people. Speaking of Elon Musk, some big.
By the way, just I'll make a quick note on that, Kim. They're talking about the fact that once those cutbacks go into effect, and it's part of a lot of cutbacks of personnel and others, and other cutbacks. I mean, it may affect security of Twitter. It may affect any number of things, or the hackability of Twitter. They're suggesting, I mean, that's in published reports, that it could really send Twitter into something of a tailspin. It'll be a much different place. So anyway.
Yeah, when you cut without regard to your product, that's a big risk.
Right.
Speaking of, though, Elon Musk, he did some big talking today as well. He says Tesla will eventually be bigger than Apple and Saudi's Aramco combined. Analysts are putting the brakes on that, though, citing the company's Q3 revenue miss and inflation that's dampening discretionary spending. Tesla has a market capitalization of just under $670 billion. Apple and Aramco are valued at $2.3 and $2.1 trillion, respectively. So he's not close. Keep on talking, Musk. There is a new maps of store cats. You got this?
Kim smack talking with Elon Musk. I love that.
Yeah, smash him with his iron rod. You keep talking. You keep smack talking. We hear you. We see you. A new map of store cats in San Francisco is going viral. A local designer first created it to show where the city cats hang out. It took off, so we added more. The version posted on Twitter, speaking of which, shows the faces and names of a dozen cats superimposed over their store location. The map has received more than 15,000 likes, nearly 2,000 retweets. A bigger map is in the works and could be released by this weekend. So if you're going to San Francisco, you know, the Golden Gate Bridge is nice. Coit Tower is okay. But the cities, now that's what you want to do. This report,
come on. Find out where the cats are.
Where the what
Is that
cats?
What you're saying? What
the
was
city
that?
cats.
Yeah, the city cats, right?
The city cats, yeah. This
Urban
report
cats.
Urban cats, city cats. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve an 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
My bad. I'm sorry.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
My words upset so many people. I misspoke. I stand corrected.
What up, party people? Yeah. We got it going for a Friday. It's our first full week on the air. Very excited. Everywhere across the world on YouTube. It is super cool to be here. We're learning the rules of the road on YouTube. You know, we've had a couple of bumps. Those of you who've been with us in the very beginning, we kind of work circumspectly around certain things. Circumspectly is a ding word, by the way. And it's just fun. But I think the great benefit that we've achieved, and I mentioned this earlier, but I'll just mention it again because I think it's so mentionable, is the fact that we are able to interact with you, the listener, in a way that we couldn't before. I could get your texts and speak with you, but now there's a community. I mean, there is a real group of people, and we're all able to meet here every day, and we're all able to talk back and forth, and that's cool. And we're going to take that to new and better levels even. So stay tuned. I've got some big announcements next week as to how that's going to happen. But do I have to recognize anyone?
Why don't you just text it?
Okay, I'll recognize a text. Johnny says, Kim, you should understand costs and return on investment now that you're on your own.
What are you saying that
he's saying, he goes on, Musk is a businessman and he needs a good bottom line to make things work.
Okay, so you're the one that said that the quality of Twitter could be affected. I agreed with you that when you make cuts like that, they affect the product. And I don't think that's wrong. It doesn't mean that there might not need to be cuts made, or that he needs to look at the bottom line. But when you start making cuts, you do start affecting the product. That's a fact too. Yeah.
What Kim's saying is 100% right. And Johnny, the truth is, I mean, you're right. He's a businessman, and making cuts to improve your bottom line is sort of the easiest business strategy that you can implement. That said, at some point, sometimes the point is very early on, those cuts do affect your product. I mean, we just went through it at the last radio station. We start cutting, and then you cut everybody. You go, well, we just have to cut the whole thing.
Well, and the big issue with Twitter is a lot of the moderation is done by humans because artificial intelligence isn't quite there yet. So it's going to affect their ability to get that content taken down that's offensive, right? Or that could, be considered misinformation.
That's why I was saying it's going to be a very different place on Twitter. And the other thing I was mentioning is the security barriers that are also critical to managing these large forums, they are going to be cut, many of them. So you're not going to have as effective a world when it comes to preventing any number of things on hate speech.
I love how it's my fault, though. Isn't that nice?
Yeah,
Thanks,
but please do continue to single out Kim as the problem.
Nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's right. So
Can you let him finish, sir?
I think he was finished.
Write your complaint letters, care of Kim McAllister. I'll take them all.
Elon is going to see this, Mark, and he's going to hit the thumbs down. Oh my God, that's right, Eddie. We should be sucking up to Elon Musk, not smack talking him, Kim.
There goes Tesla as a sponsor. Oh, yeah, there is a dislike button. Sadly,
and he probably has a platinum.
Don't smash
rod.
that one with your iron rod.
Yeah. I'm just realizing that I this is so. I have so many. This is just a reflection of how much stuff we have to do and now worry about. Friday Fabulous Florida. I thought I had it last week, didn't I? Oh,
You
yeah.
did.
I have it, so I must have it. And so then, without any further delay, friends, it is Friday. There is a state in this country. It's not the only state with weird stuff going on, but there does seem like a collection of weirdness that settles over this state. We like to feature it every week on Fridays in a segment we call Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Well, there is serious news out of Florida, and just bizarre news at that. An accidental shooting at a Florida gun range. You think, well, there are guns and people and, accidents can happen. But this accident happened with a gun instructor. That is much less common. That's right. A firearms instructor is killed at the shooting range. Here is the story and some of the details.
New details just in about the events that led to the death of 40-year-old Customs and Border Protection Officer George Arias.
Oh, yeah. He was a Customs and Border Patrol agent, too. So
on Wednesday, Arias was working as a firearms instructor at a gun range in West Miami-Dade. He and another officer were performing a role-playing exercise. Each person participating swapped their own weapon for training guns. The officer doing the exercise with Arias briefly left the room and switched back to his real weapon, but forgot to swap it back out for the training gun when he came back.
Oh my God. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, that's just such idiocy.
Come on.
The guy leaves the room for a second and you switch the training gun out for a real gun? It's utter madness.
What is this, the set of Rust?
I don't Oh, come on.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
Yes. Absolute insanity.
He and another officer were performing a role-playing exercise. Each person participating swapped their own weapon for training guns. The officer doing the exercise with Arias briefly left the room and switched back to his real weapon, but forgot to swap it back out for the training gun when he came back. When the exercise was performed, the officer accidentally shot Arias in the chest with real ammo. He was pronounced dead at the hospital.
Oh, God.
He was my soulmate.
Anna Mary Arias was his wife.
When you hear people say that he was a great guy, believe it.
Anna and George met as classmates at Hialeah Miami Lakes Senior High School.
And this guy's life, then they go through his life. It's unreal. I mean, he's like every great thing you want, Married his high school sweetheart, went into service, trying to be of service to his community, and then somebody swaps out the gun on the range and he ends up like that. It's
stupidity.
Incredible. Yeah, straight up stupidity. And imagine that guy too, he'll be haunted by that for the rest of his life, you'd think. Insane. There's also this is the last serious story out of Florida, but that parental rights thing, meaning the new rules concerning don't say gay. It's that ruled in Florida. The Florida State Board of Education passed several new rules that implement the requirements set forth in the Parental Rights Education Act that was signed into law over the summer by Ron DeSantis. That's the law that was called Don't Say Gay. One new rule makes clear that kindergarten through third grade teachers cannot provide classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity. Let me just say, much is being made of this, but really, is there a lot of talk about gender identity when kids are, kindergarten through third grade? I don't think so. Am I wrong, Kim? I just think in general, you don't at that age have a lot of.
But I think you don't shy away from it. If somebody has two daddies or two mommies and a question is asked, you say, and anyone, what have you, and I've got a third grader and questions are asked, and so I don't want there to be a ban on that. If something needs to be explained, I'm sorry, I can't answer the question, and there's something wrong with so and so having two daddies. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Another rule requires schools to notify parents if transgender students are allowed to use the bathrooms and locker rooms of their choosing. Both of these rules were passed by the board unanimously. Dozens of people voiced their opinion during public comment, and this has been contentious and continues to be contentious. Several members of the
who are they going after next?
Right, exactly. Right.
They're trying to take this "Don't Say Gay" thing, even though I know it doesn't say "Don't Say Gay," but they're trying to take this law national now.
Well, these are the cultural wedge issues that they can really make political hay on. As I say, I think on a percentage basis, communities that are affected by this are small, but it's easy to stir up outrage over this, and that's why this is one of the things they talk about. Several members of the conservative-leaning Moms for Liberty organization traveled from across the state to attend this meeting. LGBTQ activists also were in the room, but it's one of the quotes from the teachers: "You are villainizing us unnecessarily with this bill. We are the teachers. We are the good ones. Don't be confused. Teachers should get respect." Firefighters rescue a Florida woman with her foot stuck in a massage chair, everybody. Yeah.
Oh, ow.
That could have gone in any direction.
Yeah, it really could have. I was going to say alligator. No.
Yeah, massage alligator. Chair in a wave. We got off easy. Firefighters coming to the rescue of a woman who got stuck in an electric massage chair in Naples, Florida.
Oh.
The Naples Fire Department was called in. The woman crying in pain as firefighters tried to free her foot from the massage chair. "Oh my God, she's heard saying. "Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God."
And then she said, "Oh my God," again.
Oh my God.
Exactly. There was a lot of "oh my God." The patient was evaluated for injuries released at the scene.
So the foot is saved.
At the scene?
What's the scene?
What can you tell us about the scene?
Lady's got her foot caught inside the massage chair, Larry.
Ooh, what's a guilty pleasure?
No.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Now, they make those massage chairs now bigger and bigger, and they put you, if you go for the mani-pedi, don't they have the massage chairs that will virtually
go for the pedicure?
I bought one of the lower end ones. Right. It's not pleather. It's just like felt or whatever. For $600 in 2003, the best investment I've ever made in my life. It's still going. It's at my parents' house because they won't give it back to me.
Oh, that's so funny. I love that. Very, very funny. Continuing with Florida news. A man carrying a machete has been knocking on doors of Florida homes. Residents are understandably,
Well, it is machete season.
When you hear that machete knock, it's a different kind of knock.
Yeah.
This is Lauderhill, Florida, a Florida neighborhood on edge in this Lauderhill community. Multiple residents are reporting seeing a well-dressed man carrying a machete. Showing up on security cameras all around the area. So
what?
Yeah.
I like that they said he was very business-like.
I see some random dude knocking on the door with the back of a machete, said the guy. Then he just disappears as quick as he comes. Oh.
Kind of Halloween-y.
It is. It's so mysterious, he says. I'm sorry, this is a quote from a young lady who is also weighing in on the machete knocking. It's so mysterious that we have no idea whatsoever of his intent. Neighbors in the same area.
His intent is not good.
Right.
He's up to no good.
What positive intent? Hey, I noticed your topiary doesn't quite, it's getting a little overgrown.
Edward Scissorhands.
I noticed the garage door was open.
Yeah.
Across the street. No. Got a machete in my hand. I'm
in the neighborhood edging people's lawns. I wondered if you needed any help. Yeah, it's pretty clear that nothing good is going to happen.
I can help with those coconuts.
Eight skydivers over 80 execute a perfect formation as they skydive over Florida. They jump out of a plane over Florida. It's called the Jumpers Over 80 Society. And they successfully made the jump, arranged themselves into a formation to break the world record, which previously stood at 6 jumpers.
Was this one of those nude jumps?
Sadly, I shouldn't say sadly. I should say thankfully not. Okay. Circle K gas stations in Florida. Give it up for Circle K, everybody. Come on. Circle K gas stations in Florida will sell medical marijuana products, everyone. Yeah, you know it. It's coming to you. Soon, Floridians are going to be able to buy medical marijuana in the same place they fill up gas. From Ocala, Florida, comes word that Circle K, the global convenience store retailer, has signed a deal with Green Thumb Industries. That's one of the largest cannabis producers. And they're going to sell licensed marijuana at up to 10 of their Florida gas stations. That'll start early next year.
Well, and you know where you can go after the Circle K. You could head down the street to Whole Foods.
Oh, that's right. Where usually the Whole Foods are in close proximity to the Circle K.
Yeah, just down the expressway.
Yeah. It's Piggly Wiggly, I think, really maybe edging out Whole Foods in Florida, to be fair. But I'll tell you what you can do. You can stay at home.
Stay at home and get baked.
Exactly. Once you hit the Circle K. Congratulations to Florida for being forward-thinking on that. Circle K and the cannabis producers getting that together. The Ovietta officers delivering Taco Bell for Uber Eats driver who was stopped. That's a story we wanted to share with you a couple of weeks ago.
That's nice.
And they stopped this guy. He's an Uber Eats driver. He's going, oh my God, I can't finish the delivery. They're going to drop me from the, And the officers delivered the Uber Eats order for him. He had just picked up an order from Taco Bell. He was on his way to deliver it. The person reportedly had a suspended license, though, wasn't allowed to drive. So the officers say, hey, sorry, but the officer took the food, though, delivered it to the home of the hungry customer.
They were probably very hungry, if you know what I mean. It's all good, man. It's cool.
Yeah, it works. And 2 men accused in a Florida crime spree spanning 8 counties at Lowe's home improvement stores are finally arrested. The 2 men, Alexi Baldivia and Randy Rivero, were arrested after an investigation from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement found that the 2 stole from Lowe's improvement stores across 8 Florida counties. Well, if it works in one county, to be fair, you got to move on to the next county. According to the FDLE, the men purchased home improvement items, obtained an itemized receipt. Then they would travel to another Lowe's store, gather the exact same items, present them at the door, and claim to have purchased those items inside that store. They would then cancel the original purchase, basically getting the items they initially purchased for free. Did you follow that?
Yeah, that's a wild idea.
It's a wild idea, and it did work for a time.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
So,
right,
John,
so they're taking the original receipt and then going to a different store and then using it in their hand as they gathered the same items, right? And the person checking the receipt's not going to see that it's the wrong location. That's basically what's happening.
I see. So they gather the items that they haven't paid
The
for.
same, yeah,
They
the
give them
same
receipt.
items
The
that are on
same
that
items.
receipt.
Got it. Wow, that's a tough way to make a living, isn't it?
Hey, they were getting thousands and thousands of dollars worth of
Yeah,
items.
that's true. Actually, they're probably looking at me going, "Look at you, pal. What are you laughing at?
Yeah, what's your ROI, Mark?
Yeah, you got to pitch your audience. You're not even making any money right now. You got to pitch your audience to support you. You're right. So maybe I'm the.
Maybe we'll head to Costco later.
Yeah.
Former KGO employees arrested outside the San Leandro Costco.
Things were going so well for Kim McAllister. At least that's what people thought. That's Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now, here.
That was a reptile-free Friday Fabulous Florida. We do have to pick a favorite. I'll remind you, kind of a grim story. The firearms instructor dying after the accidental shooting because his buddy swapped out the training gun for a real gun. The Don't Say Gay bill actually goes into effect in Florida. Firefighters rescue the woman with the foot stuck in the massage chair. The machete knocker, who is terrifying the Florida community. 8 skydivers over 80 execute a formation and get the Guinness record. The cops in Florida delivering the Taco Bell for the Uber Eats driver whose license was actually suspended. The Circle K gas station selling medical marijuana products, but also there is the 2 guys who worked the Lowe's receipt scam. Of all of those, what is your favorite? I ask you, Kim McAllister.
For me, it comes down to massage chair.
Definitely in the hunt, massage chair.
Or machete knocker.
Machete knocker.
I know. I'm going to go massage chair. Yeah. Yeah.
John, what do you think?
Well, I'm glad you went massage chair because I'm going with machete knocker because I like how it was kind of like machete casual.
He's well dressed. That is weird. Yeah, the machete guy was well dressed. I think it's it's a massage chair, but yeah, so thank you. You can tell us in the chat what your favorite was. That's another thing that you can do now. You can tell us in the chat. So you can join us in the chat. You just text in whatever your comment is in the chat.
Why don't you just text it?
Right, and we can share those comments. Also, please give us a thumbs up. You've got to give us the thumbs up because that helps us in the algorithm with Twitter. It's a weird thing, but it's true.
Yeah,
so,
massage chair was getting all the love.
Yeah. So smash that like button, the thumbs
Smash
up
it
with your iron rod. Just smash it. And also, I should say, there are all the ways to support us. And we become beggars for money because that's the only way that we'll stay on the air. Otherwise, slowly people will go, hey, we give it a try.
We have to, though.
Yeah. We have to. We don't like it any more than you probably.
Hey, I'm almost making what I made before.
Well, there you go.
Too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, commentary.
I will ask you to. There are a couple of ways. There's super chats. You can find them up there. You'll see it, and you can make a donation right there with the super chats, and we'll read all your super chats. 100% of the super chats get read, and then if you would, you can see if you're watching a delayed broadcast. We're on live every day, 10 to noon. But if you're watching a delayed broadcast, you see that little heart with the $sign. Hit that, and boom, we get whatever amount you indicate, which is really cool. Really appreciate that. Of course, we have the Patreon site, and we have PayPal linked to the Patreon site. So if you want a one-time donation, you can do it there. That's at themarkthompsonshow.com. themarkthompsonshow.com. So all of those ways and more. And as I said, there's some exciting new things coming in the days ahead. I'm looking around because I just want to see what we're doing. We've got Gary Dietrich coming up with a sense of what's happening in the midterms. There's been some pretty big shifts, I think, in large measure due to the economy, meaning the red wave then was replaced by blue wave expectations. Now anticipated that there'll be something, I don't know if you call it a wave, but that there will be a positive, good performance by those who represent GOP candidates. Many GOP candidates, of course, as you know, have questions about how things worked out the last time, and they are on tickets around the country as well. Gary will run down all of that with us after the news. I also want to mention Michael Snyder will be here. What to watch. There's some cool new movies. We'll get to all of that as we continue. Thank you for supporting the show all the ways you do. Really appreciate it. The Mark Thompson Show here on YouTube. Let's take a break for Kim's news.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. President Biden says he is optimistic that Democrats will capture momentum once again before America heads to the polls. Speaking at the White House, the president noting polls have varied on which party is looking good ahead November 8th. The president citing a decline in gas prices while saying the upcoming election is not a referendum. Instead, he says it's a choice. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, as we have mentioned, is being sentenced to 4 months behind bars. This after he was convicted of contempt of Congress, but he'll remain a free man while an appeal is pursued. He was hit with the contempt charges after refusing to comply with a subpoena from the committee investigating last year's attack. Bannon would not testify or turn over any documents to the panel. The defense secretary is in contact with his Russian counterpart for the first time known to the public since May. It was confirmed Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke with the Russian defense minister by phone as the Russian war in Ukraine enters its 9th month. The Pentagon said Austin's emphasized the importance of maintaining the lines of communication there. First Lady Jill Biden set to host a cancer moonshot event with special guest Mary J. Blige. The R&B super is a preventative cancer screening advocate and will join the American Cancer Society with the First Lady in roundtables focused on breast and cervical cancer. The roundtable's goals are to bring experts and leaders together to drive progress and improve the lives of people living with cancer. At least a dozen people injured after a horrible turbulence aboard an international flight. Passengers were heading from Madrid to Buenos Aires when even the flight attendants got all that bumpiness. The airline in charge of the flight says the seatbelt light was on and an announcement was made as the flight got really, really bumpy. Despite the passengers having to deal with the turbulence, the airplane wasn't badly damaged. People bounced around, though. San Francisco's Mission District trying to stop homeless camps. Neighbors have put some large planters on some sidewalks, hoping it will keep people from sleeping there. They say there wasn't even any room to walk down the street, but homeless doesn't address the root cause of why so many are on the streets in the first place. The city does allow planter boxes up to 3 feet tall as long as there's 6 feet of space on the sidewalk in which to get by. And DC's Black Adam is off to a fast start after bringing in $7.6 million from Thursday previews. The Dwayne Johnson-led film expected to bring about $60 million in its opening weekend. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL. Catch him online too, MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens, and this is the greatest radio show in the history of the world. The Mark Thompson Show. It's in all the record books. Look at that.
You can buy a bottle watch in Sam's.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
It was great. I loved it.
Someone who'll listen to your boring stories.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you. You know what, pal? You created havoc and chaos.
What up, party people? Yeah, you know. A lot of fun to have everybody here on our Big Friday show. Fabulous producer John Daly. We've heard from him.
John Daly.
Kim is here, of
Kim,
course.
how are you?
Just heard her news. Very cool.
Hello.
Yeah. And Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Tony is the coolest. He is the man. making all the technical stuff happen, you know.
Tony, what angered you?
Yeah, what angered you, Tony?
What doesn't?
I love the drops being sent by the listeners. That's what that is. That's where that came from. I don't want to make this guy wait any longer. He's a longtime political expert for KGO, and it's so cool to have him on our new project here. And he stepped up right away when we said, "Hey, Gary, would you consider, being part of things here and offering your insights and your analysis?" And he said, "Absolutely." So without any further delay, everybody, you can find him on Twitter at Gary Dietrich. He is Gary Dietrich. Hi, Gary. Yeah. I don't hear him.
I don't hear him.
I see that he's joined us, but I haven't heard him yet.
He's got some good stuff. I was hoping to ask him about some of these propositions we've got on the ballot. So
well, Gary
hopefully we can get him up.
Let's hope that maybe he's muted his mic or something. Is that possible inadvertently? That's the kind of mistake I would make. I try to think in terms of the mistakes I would make. Gary, if you've got a muted mic, now would be the time to unmute it.
Now would be the time. Now would be the moment. Yeah,
we've all had these moments.
I blame you, John. Of course.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I'm just saying that. Maybe did you run through it ahead of time, John, with what he needed to do?
Yes, exactly. I did.
Okay, you did.
I have policy. I have processes,
protocols, and standards. Yeah. Well, Gary hopefully will join us in a moment. Yeah.
I was looking at those on the ballot, those gambling initiatives.
Yeah.
And one of them's
26
obvious,
and 27. Right.
Yeah, the Native American Indian one, that one, it's different than the other. I mean, I think no on both, but I just wanted to hear what he had to say about, the kind of the nuances of both and who's behind them. Because sometimes you think, it's something benefiting your local. It's the Vegas casinos that may be putting the money up behind that. So I kind of wanted to get his info on that.
Yeah, he's I think they're trying to. I think his mic is muted right now, so maybe we can unmute it. And once we get Gary all situated, we'll have him on. But I wanted to meeting in the next minute or so. But I think you're right. There's so much money associated with this gambling initiative. There's so much money, of course, associated with gambling generally, and it's been something that has been offered to the tribes. And I'm talking about historically, it's sort of a make good for having slaughtered them all and taken land from Native Americans. But I mean, and it's a lame make good, but it is it's an attempt. So that said, because of this pot of gold associated with gambling, is my point. Now the tribes are feeling as though they should have almost a proprietary ownership over that money. That, hey, great to legalize sports gambling. Let's make sure you do it here on our Indian land reservations, right? Mm-hmm. But it's unclear that would actually be the case. First of all, it's likely a way to offer the tribes a piece of the action, and it wouldn't necessarily just exist geographically there in the reservation. Even if it did, it's likely not so clean, meaning that the parties involved with the reservation interests associated with the Native Americans and their connection to this legalized gambling, I'd suggest it's part of the same crew that is part of Prop 27. Big gamble, big, Is he ready to go?
Some texters are also asking, I'd like to hear about Prop 30. And then Jim Slayton says that dialysis one is confusing too. Like, how many times are we going to have to deal with dialysis? I mean, if they just don't like our answer, they're just going to keep plopping it back up there.
Well, that poor man that got to do the TV spots, that poor guy, right? I mean, he's
I think we have
who I'm talking about, the guy who's in dialysis. I mean, it's really effective.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
and I thought I voted.
Too, who's rather sickly.
Oh, the old woman too. Yeah.
It's 100% effective.
It's 100% effective. How about that?
I'm very sick, and I want to make sure that I get the proper care.
I mean,
we want to make sure too. It's why we voted no 50 times. So leave us
alone.
Already.
I did whatever you wanted,
and this is their new home.
But I didn't know exactly what to do with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was done. I guess Kim is so smart. She looks at who, and I probably most of you do this as well, who's behind these propositions, where the money coming from. And on this dialysis thing, just to run it out, I didn't realize how much money there is in these dialysis clinics. There's a lot of money.
I guess they're fighting over it all.
We're a dialysis-bound society, right? Because we.
Looks like Gary has joined us.
Hi,
Gary has joined us. Wow, finally. Gary
Welcome
Dietrich.
aboard.
Little drama to his entrance, but it's great to have him in. Hi, Gary. No, it was too big a promise.
Too big.
So
One of the
good.
textures says, "Oh my God, they killed Gary D." That's from Ed. No, we didn't kill Gary D. We didn't. We love him.
Well, John, again,
whoever is producing this thing has no idea what.
Looks like Gary's
saying.
having some trouble with his microphone. So
all right.
maybe we'll try to get him back.
All right.
Can you let him finish?
All right, we'll let him finish. We'll let him finish. When he gets here, he will get a chance to finish completely. Don't worry. In the meantime, can I just make some acknowledgments and see if we can't.
Why don't you just text it?
Read some texts.
Yeah.
Don't donate more. Debbie says donate more money so that fabulous producer John Daly can get a new massage chair to replace the one that his parents took. Yeah, very
We
good.
need John Daly relaxed. Trust me, we want him mellowing and smooth.
Hey, I'm a giver. Give.
Karen says, how sad to be separated from your chair and by your parents, no less.
Rude.
But if you saw like the look on their face, it's like I couldn't take it away because they were holding it when I traveled the world, and I'm like, I can't take it away from them.
Yeah, it's but now you live in sadness and isolation without your chair. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I'll manage to get by.
All right.
How would you handle this?
Yeah.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Tony in San Antonio says, Mark and gang, this is the best show since starting this YouTube channel. Congratulations. Very funny that he's enjoying it.
Well, except for this segment.
Yeah, this one where we're waiting for Gary. He's circling the airfield now. We just have to.
Oh, we should call the segment "Waiting for Gary."
Waiting for Gary. Strong.
Waiting for Gary.
Strong. Now
That's
you're
Tony
producing.
in San Antonio. Y'all go to hell. I'm going back to Texas.
Yeah, y'all go by hell. I'm going back to Texas.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
What up, Tony?
Maybe a little bit later, I'll play that song. Inspired by that drop, we have a musician who, hey, somebody did really something very cool for us. Speaking of music, we have the musician who wrote the "You Can All Go to Hell" and I'm going back to Texas. We had something really cool happen. I mentioned to you that we can't use a bunch of music now that we're here on YouTube, and music used to be a big part of our show. We used to have Throwback Thursday. We had Mark's Music Monday. We would debut new music, and we can't do that anymore just because you can't. There are clearances and all this sort of thing, and processes and protocols or whatever.
We have processes
right.
and
So
protocols.
those are
and
the
standards.
those are the YouTube processes and protocols and standards. But what I wanted to mention to you is there's this dude. I'm going to give him a bigger shout out on Monday because I have to go through the library. It just happened. Who's given me access to this library, which is designed for those who are looking for music that is pre-cleared. It's sort of music that they composed. And so there's no clearance issue with it because they're their composers, they're musicians, and it's really great. And so a lot of that music's going to end up on the show, and he's terrific, this guy, Eric. So I want to...
That's awesome because I was about ready to have my kids just play some piano, get a little funk.
Yeah, I was
going
to say this is another opportunity to exploit your children.
Right, exactly. Get Julia singing in there, kids writing music.
If you're a musician and you've got original music that you think is, could work for like bumps in and bumps out, then definitely share it with us. You can send it to me at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com.
But high energy, right? I mean,
we like high energy. High energy, but it can be anything. It just be a bass line or it's a little, whatever. Meantime, you can smash with your iron rod the like button. You want to hit that
Test
like.
1, 2.
Ooh, we're at a
Oh,
very
Gary Dietrich, I hear it.
Flight.
Nobody says
Gary
test 1,
Dietrich.
2 in that sexy way like Gary Dietrich does.
Nobody puts Gary in the corner.
Gary, do you read us loud and clear,
Hello?
as they used to say? Yes. Do you hear us, Gary, or not? This is the next part. Really? You don't hear us?
No, he doesn't hear us.
Hello, test 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Yeah, we
1,
got
2,
it. We
3
got
is
you.
good. Yeah. I like
start talking politics, pal.
it. Yeah.
Morning.
Morning. Test 1, 2, 3.
Morning.
Yeah. Gary, do you hear us?
No.
This is fun.
Remember we were talking to Vincent Patterson about total meltdowns?
Yeah.
This isn't
This
so
is
bad.
what I had in mind.
Test 1, 2.
All right. Well, I'm,
Sound check.
Yeah.
Siblis.
Well,
well,
that's life
yeah.
and technology.
Yeah. This happens. I don't know. I think it's
Jim Riley says, "Thanks for coming on, Gary. Sorry, we're out of time." Nice one, Jim.
It is true.
I, Meghan McCain, co-host of The View.
Yeah, Meghan McCain would never be treated this way. It would Meghan McCain. They'd have it all worked out. But anyway, Gary Dietrich is standing by, sort of. We hope that he'll be able to join us. But what I was saying was that if you're a composer, you're a musician, or even want to just like hammer out something and send it to us, we'll see if we can work it in. That'd be really fun. But this guy, Eric, really hooked us up. Yeah, is he available? Sure, absolutely, I would talk to him. Gary, no? Anyway. This is the, but let me get back to, just for a moment, because I have to do this anyway. San Antonio. Oh, here's a Chris White. Yeah, what up, Chris White? $20. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
People are kind. That's nice.
Elwin contributed $1.99. You
Thank
can
you
do
so
this
much.
all up at the, yeah. Thank you.
And that's just on Twitter because people are also kind on Patreon and on PayPal, and we have those links up at themarkthompsonshow.com.
And I have to say also, we scroll the Patreon contributors, so all of you patrons, you get credits at the end of the show. So we will scroll those names. People have been a little more generous and really, stepped up. It's like, wow, their names are a little bit bigger. So all of those scroll at the end of the show. So it's kind of cool. So that you can see, and we love and appreciate all the ways you support us. Please subscribe, like, share, and contribute. That's the situation. So if you're just joining us, we kind of did the dive on Steve Bannon earlier. And so I'll put that off to the side.
Is anyone sorry if he has to go to prison? Oh, you want to put it to the side. But I was just going to say, is anyone sad to see him, if he loses the appeal, go to jail for 4 months? I kind of like to see him go to jail for longer.
Yeah, well, that's what the prosecutors wanted. They wanted longer, but
it's
he only
too
got
bad
the
you
4
can't
months.
put someone in jail because you just don't like them, right?
Yeah, if you just
They don't like you.
Well,
off to jail.
Nobody likes her.
He's a pretty brutal dude. I mean, the stuff he did was pretty brutal. So in this case, when I talk about the stuff he did, he just denied a subpoena. He basically shined him on, and that same shine on is being done by others within that Trump administration. So, we'll see where all the chips fall, but I don't think he'll do time. And I don't think he clearly won't pay a fine. He could, as I say, $6,500. They wanted $200,000.
Well, then what
just
is
to
that?
send a message.
What teeth does that give to a congressional subpoena? It says not much is going to happen to you if you ignore it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything, right?
Well, that's pretty much the disposition that the last administration had to a lot of the, to use the phrase, processes, protocol, standards, the things that were standard in Washington. It started really with the taxes. And the former president didn't file the general disclosure information that is filed by presidential candidates. There's no law to require it.
Gary, is that you?
It is me.
Oh my God, Gary Dietrich. I've been waiting.
Didn't kill you. We
Hey,
can
Mark.
prove it.
Yeah.
Joe, it's going to be, we're going to have a show. That's just what reminded me of when I was trying to get on with you right now. It made it happen.
I'm glad you're here, but now you have to wait. I have Steve Moskowitz to talk to.
You know it's a complete nefarious political plot that we not talk politics.
Right. They're trying to, is that the, it's the Bilderbergs maybe who are trying to keep you quiet?
Yeah, the conspiracy.
Let me talk to Steve though, real quick, and then Gary, stand by if you would, please. Okay. So Gary Dietrich will be standing by, and we will have him in. But right now, I want to bring on our exclusive sponsor, the Mark Thompson Show, is Steve Moskowitz. Everyone.
Hello, Mark.
Steve. Hello, sir. Look at you. You are improved background too. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're backlit like a superhero sometimes. Today, you have a kind of a cool background going on.
Well, thanks very much. And I'm happy to report that the people that I told you about, that I spoke to, I called them right back after my last visit with you. And they were listening to you then. After I told them that, they were listening to you, and they were so happy. So I like to report this to more listeners.
I love it. Wow, that's terrific. Well, that's great. Thank you very much for
It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
I love getting you new listeners because, again, I know I'm a listener and I know what it means to me to be able to hear your show.
Oh, that's true. Well, I must say we're trying to build something here. We're building a community, and we're trying to provide the same show we did, but new and improved in a way from the
I think it's even better.
KGO show. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk to you about taxes because this is your jam. I mean, it's an amazing thing that you are so drawn to all the details, all the nooks and crannies of the tax code. But as a veteran tax attorney, you have this experience. And it's funny. We all think that our tax situation is so specific and so detailed. But the reality is the specific details of all our tax situations you've seen before. And that's why I think someone in your position can help out so many of our listeners. ERC is just one of the offerings.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, Mark, a lot of times people will say to me, Steve, have you ever done a case like this before? And I say, yeah, thousands of them. That you know, most people that come to us have the same problem. I basically deal with the few same problems over and over and over again. But like a physician, that's the physician you want that says, oh, ho, hum, another one of these. I know exactly where to cut. And if you're one of the few oddballs that reacts a little differently, I know what to do. And with ERC, that's so very important because ERC, Employee Retention Credit, this is where the federal government is giving employers up to $26,000 for every employee they have if they qualify. And you say, well, what do you have to do to qualify? And there's two different ways. One way is a certain drop in gross revenue. That's easy. It's math. You either hit that number or you don't. But there's two extremes, and I want to warn against both of them. On the one hand, there's a lot of people that just want to take the easy way. Math is easy. You know, did you go down by that amount or not? But if you don't, there's a lot of people that qualify under a second way. And the law says it's either or. The second way, it's called full or partial closure, sometimes known as facts and circumstances test. Like, suppose even you were an essential business like Safeway. But from the beginning of the pandemic here in California up until June 15th, 21, you could only use 25% of the inside of your business. So that means that Safeway could only use 25% of their store. That's a partial closure of 75% of their business. And then there's supply chain disruptions and a lot of other things. But you have to sit down and you have to work with it. You have to make a determination. And a lot of firms just don't want to bother, and they tell their clients, no, you don't qualify, or they don't even tell you about it. I have been solicited by other firms as a business for my ERC business, and they only told me about the easy way, the math way. So even if your gross revenue did not go down by the prescribed amount, you may be able to qualify on the other. Now, not everybody does, but we'll sit down with you and we'll tell you, if you do qualify, let's get every penny that you're legally entitled to. But if you don't, we'll tell you that too. And that's the other warning. The IRS now is warning about, as well they should. There's a lot of companies, especially the pop-up companies. These are companies that came into existence to file these applications. And when they finish filing them, they're going to fold their tents and disappear. And when the IRS has some questions, these companies are going to be long gone. You're not going to find them. We're a law firm. We've been around over 30 years. And the bottom line is you don't want to go to that person that only does the one easy way to do it. And obviously, you don't want to take something you're not legally entitled to. Nobody wants to cheat on their taxes like any other area of taxes. You'd never do that. But my whole career, I've always said, you should take everything to which you're legally entitled, no more and no less. We'll tell you the difference. We'll tell you if you qualify. We'll tell you if you don't. And if you do qualify, let's get every penny to which you're legally entitled.
Reach Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL, 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 or MoskowitzLLP.com. The great one, our founding sponsor, exclusive sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. And now, without any further delay, I think it's
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about Gary Dietrich, everybody? Now, let's one more try for Gary Dietrich. Hi, Gary Dietrich.
Mark, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. We finally got it going, so at least now we know the dance, and it'll be easier next time.
Yeah,
But-
sorry. I was first time I'm signing into StreamYard and yada yada. I think we're all good now. But I want you to know, in the future we will go full cam. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah, you don't have to go full. I mean, you don't have to go full cam. Although it does give the audience something to look forward to. But I mean, people are welcome to join audio only. We're kind of doing right now the radio show on YouTube, so people are welcome just to be audio only. So you're fine. Don't.
Gary's got that TV look though. He's in Sacramento, the TV affiliate there. So he's he's got that debonair thing going on.
He wants that.
He's ready for his live shot.
He wants the screen time. Yeah.
Don't go with carpool karaoke look. She said, "Don't do that." So next time.
All right, let's. He's in and out, but let's try to get a couple of words with Gary Dietrich real quick on California props. Kim, you can start. You wanted information on Prop 30. Is that what you wanted, or is?
Yeah, which is the one that is the Native American Indian casinos?
Oh, that's 26. 26 and 27, but 26 is the Native American, I think.
Yeah, is that
right?
big casino money one? Should we be voting no? I think I'm leaning no anyway, but I just wondered.
Well, the one of them, Kim, is backed by major Indian casinos. That's one of them. Okay. The other one is backed by online betting interests, along with some card rooms. And it's these two major power brokers that are battling it out. $400 million on these two propositions, the most expensive pair of propositions in our state's history. And both of them are right now going down in the polls. But there's already word on the street up here in the state capitol. This is just round one, guys. Both of these are likely to fail, it looks like right now. And they'll be back at it again in 2 years.
Gary, two things. First of all, the ones you mentioned, 26 is the one with the Native American interests more at play, and the bigger one you talk where there's big gambling interests, that's 27. I'd suggest that everybody vote no on both, and I don't need to suggest it because it looks as though everybody's going that way anyway. But when you say $400 million, I wanted to kind of just follow that out a little bit. That's a media spend, essentially. When you say $400 million, that's to get the word out, to push your prop onto the public, isn't it?
Yeah, total expenses, Mark. You're exactly right. Most of it's media buy. I mean, we've been inundated with those TV commercials for months, right? But it's any expenditures on the campaign.
So now I want to go to the midterms, and I want you to now just take it and tell us where you find the most intriguing and important races exist.
Well, believe it or not, we have some right here in California. In the Central Valley, there's several races. Remember, all the House districts were redrawn across the nation as a result of our 10-year census. So you've got a lot of battleground districts newly drawn. Some of them are in California. Some of those will help determine the margin for or against. Of course, right next to us here in Nevada, one of the top 5 states is going to determine who controls the Senate. And so, it's, as you would say, Mark, it's a big deal. I mean, we've got right now in 2.5 weeks, one of the most potentially consequential elections in a long time. And of course, immediately, literally the day after, 2024 starts.
And as you do the sort of looking at the tea leaves, are there any polls that tell you anything? I was saying before that when you look at national polling, the ebb and flow of red and blue seems to have followed the economy. I mean, there was this this post-Roe overturn anger, it seemed, that would buoy a lot of Democrats in various key races. Now that seems to have evaporated, and the economy seems to have trumped whatever anger there was. I'm wondering how you read all the polling now and how contemporary polling points to the future.
Well, let's go 30 years ago. It's the economy, stupid. Clinton's famous campaign line in 1992. That's where we are, Mark. all the polls show that the economy, inflation, and then third, crime are leading the way across the board, across the nation. And that is what is affecting the outcomes of this. Everybody's talking this week about the big New York Times poll that on Monday showed the so-called generic ballot. That is, are you in favor of Republicans or Democrats controlling Congress? It swung back Republicans' way 5 points. And then if you drill down in that poll, perhaps the most telling number is the presidential approval rating, because that has been an amazingly accurate descriptor of what's going to happen in terms of control of Congress. We know the president's rating has been hovering up just above or just below 40%, but this is the key, Mark. When people are asked, well, okay, so you're for or against Biden, but how strongly do you feel about that? The people that are against Biden are polling about 20 points ahead in terms of I'm strongly against, as opposed to those who say I'm strongly in favor of the president. And it's that strength of passion that really determines who gets out to the polls, who casts their votes.
And that's a great point. The last point you make, which is, why is that important? Because the people who feel strongly about it will actually get in the car and go out to the polls, or they'll actually follow through and make sure their ballot gets counted. When you come back and join us again, which I'd love for you to do next week, I'd like to talk more. I mean, I really would like our conversation with Gary Dietrich to be on an ongoing basis, as especially we get closer to the midterm. So will you make a deal to, now that we've got the technical glitches out, to come back and visit us next week?
Well, Mark, as I used to say on some of your game shows, it's a deal.
Gary Dietrich, come on. Thanks, Gary Dietrich. A lot of fun. I'm sorry we had to wait so long. I've got Michael Snyder standing by. And so we'll bring him on, the Culture Blaster, with all things related to movies, television. There's some major releases coming. So we'll get that going as well. Kim's News. In the meantime, please join us in the Super Chat. You can hit the Super Chat with a donation, and we will read whatever your chat is. And you can also just chat at us in that YouTube
Why don't you
dialogue,
just text it?
and we'll get that chat on that way as well. And don't forget to hit the heart with the $, which allows us to get a little bit of funding. Patreon, all that information is at themarkthompsonshow.com.
Money.
Yeah, we've got to keep the lights on, so I have to continue to say it. It is the Mark Thompson Show, and now a quick check of news. Here's Kim McAllister.
Hello, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. A federal appeals court is ruling that South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham has to testify in front of a Georgia grand jury looking into potential election interference in the state in 2020. Graham has tried to avoid testifying, filing a lawsuit in federal court in an attempt to stop a subpoena looking into phone calls he made to election officials in Georgia. He argued that his questioning the election count was protected Senate speech. We'll see about that. The IRS is raising the limit for contributing to your 401k and other retirement plans. The 2023 increase, a record amount with a $22,500 limit into 401ks. It's $2,000 more than the current cap. California is setting an age limit for those handling political campaign money. State regulators passed a rule yesterday saying no one under 18 can be hired for a position that requires them to sign financial documents. Why? Well, the change coming after a council member accused his 14-year-old cousin appointed his 14-year-old cousin as treasurer during his 2016 campaign. Candidates can still recruit kids for things like knocking on doors in Senate and Assembly races, just not for handling all the money. Airbnb taking yet another step to prevent parties across California. Hosts can now get a free noise sensor if they're worried the renters might get too loud. It's a partnership with Minute, which is also offering a 3-month subscription to monitor noise and occupancy for free. Minute is MINUT, new company. Airbnb points out 12,000 people were stopped from booking entire home Halloween last year due to the company's anti-party ban. Heads up, anyone planning to take a road trip to Lake Tahoe this weekend, the National Weather Service issuing a warning saying strong winds are expected to kick up tonight, increasing the chance of wildfire in the area. Forecasters say it's due to a long stretch of warm and dry weather. Thousands of people are at risk of being in the dark this weekend as well. PG&E may shut off power to at least 10 counties in Central and Northern California, and that includes Butte, Fresno, Napa, Stanislaus, and Yolo counties. The state's largest utility, PG&E, saying the planned outages are due to high wildfire risk. A popular and recently controversial Rasta Charlie statue at the Santa Rosa's Montgomery Village will remain, but in a new spot. The brown-skinned, dreadlocked version of Charlie Brown that had stood outside Sonoma Outfitters for more than a decade had been ordered to be removed by the shopping center's new owners. Well, now Rasta Charlie, as he is called, will move to a spot just inside the entrance to Sonoma Outfitters. In a statement to the Press Democrat, Boston-based WS Development said they requested Rasta Charlie be removed because of concerns that he is a misappropriation of race and religion. That after a woman filed a complaint with the owners of that shopping center summer, saying the statue was Charlie Brown in blackface, and she called it offensive. So now instead of standing outside,
It was great. I loved it.
Okay, well, some people like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got to do that. Again, this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, please give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web, moskowitzllp.com. And we thank Steve for being a founding sponsor of The Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Put up your pants, my man! Pull up those pants!
It's unbelievably offensive.
Use Mark Thompson. Use Mark Thompson.
That's a good word. Come on, ding me.
Feels great, baby.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I regret that your first impression of me is one of anger, hate, and resentment.
You are a cover-up artist and you are a liar.
Calling me a liar? Is that what you're calling me?
You, sir, are a liar. You are a cover-up artist and you are a liar.
Liar, liar, your pants are on fire!
Use Mark Thompson.
All right, party people. We're into the big home stretch. So cool to be able to welcome in the guy who is so much a part of the show from the very beginning. He is San Francisco in so many ways. He writes his column for the Marina Times there in the warm confines of the Royal Grounds there on Polk Street. He calls himself the Culture Blaster, my friends, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder, my friends.
Hey, hi, Mark. Hi, John. Hi, Kim. I don't know what to say about Rasta Charlie Brown, except to suggest that I like peanuts with my jerk chicken.
All right. Aka, right, there you go.
Jerk chicken. I love the anyway, guys, so much excitement in the sports world. Christian McCaffrey's joining
that
the 49ers.
I didn't even get to. Thank you. I was waiting for you. Christian McCaffrey, tell everyone, huge Niners acquisition.
Right. He was a star at Stanford, and they passed on him in the draft and chose instead Solomon Thomas a couple of years ago. And he's one of the 2 or 3 best running backs and one of the most versatile offensive players in all of football. He's had some injury issues of late, but what an acquisition for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Christian McCaffrey will be joining them on the field, I hope, against the evil Kansas City Chiefs, who are coming to Levi Stadium on Sunday. And I just want to make one more quick point about sports. I've been actually, since last weekend, I've been listening to LA Sports Radio when I get a chance, or as I like to call it, Schadenfreude radio, because, were they upset about the Dodgers losing? I drink their bitter tears, Mark. And
I know. All of our friends who are streaming in Southern California this show, I've told you this before. As Giants fans, can't say we hate when the Dodgers get lose, but just saying.
No. You know what? Because the Yankees are still in the playoffs, I do want to say a couple weeks have passed, and I'm still thrilled about that single-season home run record. Man, it's hard to imagine anyone can top 73 home runs. Cheers for the immortal Barry Bonds. Wait, what? Aaron Judge? No. Barry Bonds. Woo!
Oh, that's great. Well, you can see you're in Giants country when it comes to baseball conversations. The Christian McCaffrey thing is good. The guy, as you say, he catches and runs just as well. I mean, he's a remarkable. His big thing is staying healthy. So we'll have to see. Hope that he can stay injury free. All right, let's get to some movies.
Okay, now obviously Dwayne Johnson always wanted to be a superhero, or maybe he already fancied he was one. He started his career as a pro wrestler, and he fought under the name The Rock. And if that doesn't sound super heroic or super villainous, I will eat my rare mint first printing of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Because, wow, The Rock, he's pitted himself against all manners of other superpowered beings in his head. So we all know the story. Johnson transitioned from one theatrical endeavor, pro wrestling, to another, the film industry. And he's now one of the biggest movie stars in the world, primarily as an action hero, but also able to kind of utilize a light, self-deprecating comic touch that belies his muscle-bound, shaven-headed image. And that brings us to Black Adam, a noisy, colorful, sloppily written, big-budget movie based on a second-tier DC Comics villain who's, this is interesting, Mark, his rights were acquired, the rights to this character, acquired decades ago from the now-defunct Fawcett Comics Company because of a long-running legal tussle over the character of the original Captain Marvel. That guy was the Superman-like hero who was a pubescent boy until he uttered the magical word, Shazam. So Black Adam was Captain Marvel's evil opposite number. Okay, born Teth Adam, an Egyptian slave from ancient times, he was given the same powers as Captain Marvel, but misused them. And of course, he and Captain Marvel faced off for many, many years in the comic books. So more recently at DC, Black Adam has become kind of an anti-hero, defending his fictional home country, Kandak, from grasping Westerners, even joining the Justice League now and then. And that's the Black Adam that Dwayne Johnson decided he should play on screen. And so he convinced the DC movie honchos, who, by the way, they're not known for their track record. This is not like Marvel where they slay project after project. But he convinced these guys to let him star in this blockbustery mediocrity, which, by the way, was directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, a guy who's actually made a few really watchable movies, including the Liam Neeson action films Unknown, Nonstop, and The Commuter. I really love The Commuter. But this guy also made the lame Disney Jungle Cruise movie starring, guess who? Dwayne Johnson. Anyway, as for Black Adam, the movie, Johnson is right at home smashing things and growling at enemies and even growling at those who admire him, very much like the World Wrestling Federation here. And in a nutshell, the character is awakened after 5,000 years of suspended animation to save Kandak from its evil resurrected ruler, and he doesn't care who he kills to save the country. There's a laudable subtext about an oppressed people's right to self-determination, right?
Sure, exactly.
Still, Teth Adam is trashing the whole place in the name of saving it. Who will stop his destructive campaign? Enter an updated version of DC's Golden Age superhero team, the Justice Society, not the Justice League. Anyway, this grouping of heroes consists of two veterans. Aldous Hodge plays the winged mace-wielding Hawkman, and Pierce Brosnan, one of the classic James Bonds, plays the magical spell-casting Dr. Fate, who, by the way, predates Marvel's Doctor Strange, but who comes off here kind of like a doctor come lately. Anyway, there were also two newbies, Cyclone, the teenage mistress of the winds, and Atom Smasher, a size-changing powerhouse. None of them have enough screen time for anyone to care much about them. In fact, Black Adam is just a framework to introduce Johnson to the DC movie universe, to have him fight everybody he encounters, like it's not, I don't know, a CGI version of the WWF, and to toss in a few DC Easter eggs that suggest more Black Adam down the line. Plus, it never, ever specifically references the pretty decent Shazam movie that actually has a sequel on the way. Let me emphasize here, I don't have superhero fatigue. I loved.
Yeah, you can't get enough of it. You love this stuff. And for those who may not recall, Michael Snyder, deep comic book background, animation background, etc., and he brings all of that ongoing love to all of these reviews. So he's not like a guy who's just sort of being dragged, kicking and screaming to this stuff. But this one missed for you.
I love She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the recently ended Marvel miniseries, for instance. But this is just charmless tedium with The Rock playing The Rock, only in a spandex costume and shooting lightning bolts out of his fingers. And maybe they should have just gone for it. Black Adam versus white male oppressor. I would have really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah. I will tell you, a laudable is a ding word, please. And then we get this from the text line. Again, in YouTube, you can just text. Karen D says, Michael, who owns the Justice League franchise?
DC Comics, but they were preceded in the, oh boy, talk about deep dives. I'll make this fast. They were preceded in the 40s by the first superhero team, the Justice Society. And then when all of those characters and their popularity petered out and DC pivoted to Westerns and romance and detective stuff, they kind of disappeared until the late 50s and early 60s when they revived the characters as, the various heroes as different heroes with different backstories and created the Justice League.
What? Okay,
yeah,
good.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing. You mentioned cultural appropriation. Isn't Johnson like Polynesian? He's definitely not Egyptian, and he's definitely not Kandakian. So what the hey?
Yeah, no, it's a new thing where they want you to be the very ethnicity of the character you're portraying. That's for another time. I'd love to talk about that, though. I think it's a real craziness that exists now when it comes to the culture of entertainment and political correctness. But that for another time. All right, what's the next movie?
Okie dokie. Oh, Black Adam is in theaters, and if you care, if you care.
It's missable, says Michael Shore.
Yes.
Michael Snyder.
From the ridiculous to the sublime, Mark, I got a great one for you. The Banshees of Inisherin effortlessly mixes the comic and the tragic. It is one of my favorite movies of the year, bar none. Definitely going to make my top 10 for 2022. I had a good feeling about it when I realized that it reunited actors Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell with writer-director Martin McDonagh, and they previously collaborated on McDonagh's very smart and prickly modern-day crime comedy In Bruges. This time out, the setting is not a town in Belgium, but a remote island off the western coast of Ireland, and the year is 1923, back during the Irish Civil War, although the denizens of Inisherin Island seem to pay very little mind to what they refer to as the Troubles, instead going about their bucolic business. In any case, taciturn fiddle player Colm, played by Gleeson.
Taciturn is a ding. Thank you. Go ahead, yes.
Played by Gleeson, and the naive and garrulous cow herder Patrick, played by Farrell, have been friends forever, meeting at the island's pub on a windswept cliff every day in the afternoon until suddenly, one day, Colm doesn't show up. So when Pedrick tracks down Colm and asks him why he wasn't there at the usual spot, Colm says he no longer wants to be friends, period. Offers no further explanation. This baffles Pedrick, who can't understand how it could happen, and he refuses to just accept the situation, asking for help in the matter from his long-suffering sister Siobhan, played by the always reliable Kerry Condon, and even the local yokel Dominic, played by the idiosyncratic and sometimes disturbing Barry Keoghan. You may remember him from The Killing of a Sacred Deer. He was in The Eternals. He's actually the new Joker in the Batman movies. All this does is make matters worse, with Colm reacting in a dark, funny, and very shocking way. The Banshees of Inisherin is a beautiful movie on the visual front, with such a stark backdrop. The great work by the entire cast truly pops, with Gleeson and especially Farrell giving performances that are among their career best. In fact, I will go further. I'll say Farrell has never been better. His Pedrick deserves all the praise, nominations, and awards. He and Gleason have now done 2 bracing and memorable movies with McDonough. I'm looking forward to their next collab. Meanwhile, I can't praise the Banshees of Inisherin enough, but I just gave it a try. It's in theaters.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. Love it. Okay. What's next?
A far more controversial story and a conventional period movie tells a horrifying true story with undeniable power and socio-political relevance today. It's called Till. And Till introduces Emmett Till, a good-natured 14-year-old boy from Chicago who was visiting relatives in small-town Mississippi. And here's the problem. As a black kid in the South, circa 1955, which is when this is set, Emmett made the mistake of acting flippant with a white woman working the counter of a local store, and the rest is ugly, ugly history.
And just by the way, for the record, he may not have been flippant even. I mean, right? And that wasn't necessarily, that was what they said. Isn't that right, Michael? Or is that what they...
Right, he's jocular. Yeah, he's just, it's how you perceive of what goes on. He's like mildly flirtatious, but not really. And oh, baby, this results in the lynching of a 14-year-old boy by insane white bigots. So Emmett's mother, Mamie, a war widow, raising Emmett on her own, and she has a boyfriend who they're going to eventually marry, but she's essentially a single mom. She is shattered by the boy's death at the hands of white supremacists and decides to go into the belly of the beast with the assistance of the NAACP, including the young civil rights crusader Medgar Evers, and they're seeking justice in the Mississippi courts. Mamie is played by Danielle Deadwyler, an actress I wasn't familiar with until Till. And boy, she got my attention with a complex, full-blooded turn as a woman who refused to simply accept what was done to her only child, despite the odds against her getting the perps convicted of murder. Mark, along with Kate Blanchett in Tar, Ana de Armas in Blonde, and Aubrey Plaza in Emily the Criminal, Deadwyler is one of my choices for Best Lead Actress this year. Co-screenwriter and director Chinonye Chukwu delivers a stirring and tear-jerking indictment of racism. And this is a plague that has in no way disappeared from the American scene more than 65 years after this unthinkable crime. The supporting cast deserves a mention, including Whoopi Goldberg, who also is one of the producers. She plays Emmett's grandmother. Tosin Cole, recently of Doctor Who, as Medgar Evers, and a young actor named Jalen Hall, who plays Emmett. And, you know, your heart will break, buddy, watching this thing, which is in theaters, and it will actually play well at home. But, you know, movies like this deserve support.
Well, apparently, I mean, not only do they thematically hit the mark, but you're saying, based on what your review is, that performances, direction, in other words, the film itself just is virtuosity.
It's really good.
Which is a ding word.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not at the level of the Banshees of Inisherin, but it is very, very good. And again, it's important. I can't believe, man, the only animal in the forest who trips over the same rock twice. Please stop racism.
Yeah, well said, sir. We have time for one more, I think. Yeah.
I'll just blister through it really quickly and give you an actual TV thing. The School for Good and Evil is an attempt to do a kind of Harry Potter-esque thing about a school where the characters from fairy tales go to learn to either be heroes or villains. They're split into 2 divisions. 2 best friends in a small town end up being snatched away and brought to this school, and they're in the wrong sides of the school. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot of big name talent in the cast here. I mean,
wait a minute, they literally split the kids into those who are being groomed to be the good ones and those who are being groomed to be the bad ones?
Yes. And Charlize Theron plays the head of the School for Evil. Kerry Washington plays the head of the School for Good, and the overall headmaster is played by Lawrence Fishburne. They weren't messing around. They have talent here, and it's directed by Paul Feig, who made Bridesmaids, which I think is pretty hilarious. But he also, this is basically a half-ass script. They put a lot of money on the screen. And it's, you might, Kim, if you're going to watch with the family, you might enjoy it. It's on Netflix. It won't cost you anything if you have a Netflix account.
Yeah, and Kim, you have lower standards than the rest of us. You'd enjoy it probably.
I'm sorry.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not,
why I oughta.
Who is
having that conversation?
How rude.
I wish it had been better. And again, it looks pretty spectacular, but you need a good script that makes sense, that doesn't have like weird motivations and odd potholes and easy hand wavy ways out. Let's talk quickly.
Is that PG or PG-13?
It's I don't check your local listings, Kim.
Figure it out. Okay.
Can you let him
Figure it out yourself.
Would you let him
Google
finish,
it?
Okay. I got to talk about. I have to talk about 2 TV series that I fancy. Pennyworth, season 3, now saddled with the subtitle "The Origin of Batman's Butler." Is out and in the middle of its run, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's a spin-off of the Batman saga, wherein the incredibly charismatic, out of nowhere, Jack Bannon, not Race Bannon, and certainly not Steve Bannon, Jack Bannon plays ex-SAS officer Alfred Alfie Pennyworth, now a freelancer in an alternate universe version of London in the swinging 60s, complete with great British invasion era needle drops like Tin Soldier by the Small Faces. And there, as a British Civil War erupts, it's an alternate universe, Alfie meets Thomas Wayne, U.S. agent, and eventually the father of Bruce Wayne, and a few other reimagined members of the Batman family, and the fun begins. I really enjoy this. The cast includes British pop singer Paloma Faith, who steals every scene she's in as the opportunistic and quick to violence Bet Sykes. Pennyworth was on Epix for its first 2 seasons, but it's now on HBO Max. It's good fun in a sweet spot where James Bond meets political intrigue, the pop culture of the 60s, and superhero mythology. I dig it, man.
Well, and what's that called again?
Pennyworth.
Pennyworth. Okay, great. Good stuff. And that is on...
HBO Max, and it's 3 seasons, and it's basically unhinged, but I really enjoy it.
School for Good and Evil. He thought it was a little more evil than good. He was not crazy for it, was my sense of it. Till, though, the story of Emmett Till with social political relevance was filled with terrific performances and a really great offering. He encourages us to see it. Till, that's in theaters. The Banshees of, how do you say it?
Inisherin.
Of Inisherin. The Banshees of Inisherin.
Polish your Irish accent a little.
It's an Irish thing. He loved it. Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, director Martin McDonagh. It's all right there. That's in theaters. And Black Adam, The Rock, his crack at the DC Universe misses. Michael did not like it at all. You can find Michael Snyder across social media as the Culture Blaster. You can find him here on Fridays. Sorry, I'm looking to find your harp. Because he comes and goes on a rainbow. Go Niners! Thank you, Michael.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Michael Snyder, everyone. Very exciting to have Michael on the show always.
It sounded like you were saying Ed Sheeran.
Oh.
As in the musician.
What did I say? Oh,
the name of the movie. The Irish name.
Oh, Inisherin? I think that's
what it kind of sounds like Ed Sheeran.
It does, I guess. I mean, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, John, but all right, that's cool.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
No, that's okay. Well, we've taken a couple of flesh wounds today, but I think, generally speaking, it's been okay. Had to wait for Gary Dietrich. If you missed that part, it was like 11 minutes. We're waiting for Gary Dietrich to join. But now that we've got those all cleaned up, I think it's going to be a better in the future. Meantime, many of you have been so cool and have supported us the most important way, which is to subscribe, to hit the like button, but to, frankly, give us some funds to keep this going. And so we depend on you. That's why we don't have any commercials. We don't have the 8-minute commercial sets that we had on KGO. Here, we are essentially commercial-free, except for the great Steve Moskowitz, who stepped up.
I need a massage chair, guys.
Yes. So please share with us, if you would, guys, some of the donations today and some of the people who've stepped up.
People are so nice. We have Alexander Stack, who donated, Wesley, Gary, Sally Diaz, Brian V, Sharon Kidd, Brian again, Julie, Tom. He also says, Tom, he'd like a meetup, maybe Thompson wine for sale. So I think maybe we can do that.
Like the Tenuta Vineyard wine. Yeah, we could get.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some meetups coming. So there is a whole list of things I'll share with you on Monday that will be happening that you can be part of. So that's
and Alexander gave $100. Shout out.
Wow, love that. Come on, Alexander. That's
Gail.
super cool. Thank you.
Gail G. Grant in the Bee Cave.
That's my
He
cousin
says-
Grant.
Oh, is that
Grant
your
in the
cousin?
Bee Cave.
Grant says, love the Mark Thompson show. John Daly, keep up the great work.
That's Bee Cave, Texas. Sorry, Kim.
Well, yeah, you know it. It's
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
all right.
Mike Noble and We Run SJ. That's We Run San Jose. Yeah, Chris Taylor
Yeah.
says, you're loony with that comment, Mark Thompson.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I
no,
am.
he's
I'm-
referring to Christopher's comment.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. Tom G and Karen D. Karen D says
No,
Friday Fabulous
TG.
Florida.
Not Tom G. TG.
TG.
Yeah.
TG.
Thank you,
Yeah,
TG.
Thank you so
much. Yeah.
Clearly,
$20.
I can't be
That's
trusted.
Well, I just think for $20, I want to get the name right. TG.
Well, that's
Yeah.
right.
I'm sorry,
Karen
go
D
ahead.
says she's giving for Friday Fabulous Florida, giving for that alone. Come on, people. Open the
Yeah.
pocketbook, she says.
That's right, for that
Show Mark
alone.
some
It's all
sugar.
there,
black and
Yeah.
white, clear as crystal.
Yes, come on. That is cool.
Elwyn
Thank you.
and Heather and Beth and Debbie and Fred and Sharon again. We appreciate you guys so much.
Big
and I've
shout
loved
out.
watching
Yeah.
your chats on the chat line.
Sounds
today.
like Romper
Super
Room
great.
now.
Yeah, it
I
does.
see
And you
Debbie
and you and you too.
Gigi,
Yeah.
And I see Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Heather?
Whoopi misspoke in the movie, Jim asked.
I misspoke.
No, she didn't until I think she turns in quite the performance.
I believe we're out of time.
Idiosyncratic is a ding word, says Nancy. That's true. I did let it slide, but you're right. And now that you pointed it out, we are out of time. I don't know how to say this. Our first full week is something that's gone, I think, fairly well, actually.
Yeah.
We've been open about what we need to do. We've been open about what has happened, and we'll continue to be open with you about how things are going. So I want you to know, we're not going to sugarcoat things. You know what we need, but I think things are going right now really well. So we're really excited about this community that's forming online, and I'm so excited about the future. So this is the new world. Go to our website. You can make Patreon donations. You can look at other episodes of our show. You can find that at themarkthompsonshow.com. You can also reach us on Gmail. Our Gmail address is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com.
$100 from Christy.
Come on, Christy. Yeah. Christy, right off.
Get it, sister.
Kim, thank you very much.
Kim, how are you?
And she's headed over to the Nikki Maduro show, which begins right now. Fabulous producer John Daly.
Fabulous producer
I don't
John
know
Daly.
where he's headed now, and I don't want to know. And Tony is the man. Makes it all happen technically. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, you guys.
We'll see you on Monday, 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And, doesn't Shadow, don't we do a Shadow thing? Hang on.
Come on, Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay. With the bye-byes.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Until next time, bye-bye.